All right, let's go back now to the Maponya residence where Sakina is broadcasting from ahead of the funeral of the late Richard Maponya. So let's go to her. I think she's joined now with Felicia Mabuza-Suttle. Sakina?
Indeed, I am, Leanne. Thank you so much. And Ms. Felicia Mabuza-Suttle here looking absolutely fabulous, as if you've slept for a week and yet you've flown in specially for this funeral.
I just had 3 hours of sleep last night, but here I am. I would not miss it for anything. Papa and Mama Marina were like my second family. I grew up with them in Soweto. In fact, my grandfather tells me from Soweto when I was a little kid, but I cannot remember that part. I remember from Dube. Our home is Dumagote, which is the double-story house next door. The Maponya home is the nest, which we as young girls used to call the White House because it was a white house. So those are memories. I'm here today because Marina Maponya was responsible for my success, if you want to call it success. As a little girl, they used to invite us to come and be hostesses. And that was the big thing you wanted to do those years, because you knew when you got close to these important visitors that they brought from the United States, one day possibly you could also end up there. So I came all the time as a hostess. I saw one of the newspapers had a picture of me when I was in my very young, and I was literally with a gentleman there called Cliff, and Mama Maponya and Papa were sitting there. One of those gentlemen that came was Congressman Charles Diggs. They used to have Arthur Ashe used to come, UN Ambassador McHenry used to come there. But Congressman Charles Diggs is the one who gave me my first break. Meeting me at the Maponya home, I went to the US on an exchange program. So when I say they are my second family in South Africa, then they called me later on and said, can you take care of Bonnie and have Bonnie come and stay with you and study in the United States, which we did. I come here all the time, and when I come, I never leave South Africa without coming to this home.
And then, you know, this is the end of an era, as it were. You know, when we think back and you listen to people's stories and when they regale all these giants of men and women of our struggle past, Dr. Richard Maponya's name is right up there. And you know, just in that regard, what did that mean to you, to be so close to someone as revered as he was?
You know, when you are that close to people that you love, you don't even think of them in that respect. I heard somebody call him the Mandela of business. And yes, he definitely was, now that you look back. But my grandfather was Papa Maponya's role model. He used to say, "Kinyaka go tshwana le mabusa, ke lo ba le business ko toropong." He was the first black man to own businesses in downtown Johannesburg prior to the Group Areas Act. Security company at that time, what did you think about real estate companies? But Papa Maponya always used to say, "Kinyaka go tshwana le mabusa," and they would sit under that tree. So the end of this era is a little difficult one for me because of how close the Maponyas are to me.
And just a final question, how will you remember him?
I will remember him as the gentleman who used to sit us down and say to us, businessing. When you get into business, make sure you get into business that you're passionate about. Bound out of bed for it. Make sure, number 2, you get into business with people with the right values, the same values and mission as you do. And thirdly, make sure you always have Ubuntu in that business. Never forget how you got up there. Always remember that those who got you out there will bring you down as well. But a funny story, I have to tell you this one, it just came to mind. Here I was now, one time I did a show and I was wearing blue jeans. I wanted to look hip that day. I came home and said, "Papa, umboni, nekita ntedi marukha mapilane," and he said, Ever since then, I've never worn blue jeans again.
You know what? That is evident here today at the funeral. I'm looking at you. I'm looking at all the other people whom I've seen thus far. And I was actually saying it speaks to the dignity of the man.
That's right.
It is reflected here today.
He wore custom shirts, custom suits. That was Maponya. And every shirt had his little alphabets there. A friend of mine in London says he used to come here in London, and I know the tailor that made his shirts and his suits.
Well, I'd love to continue this, but we have to step out of the way because this is a one-way and we're holding up the traffic right now. But thank you so much for stopping by and appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Felicia Mabuza-Suttle, of course, needs no introduction, and just recounting how she met and how Dr. Maponya inspired her to be the successful businesswoman that she is. And it brings to mind that cliche that, everything he touches turns to gold. And more than a cliche, it seems to be a truism reflected about his life here today. So we're going to hand it back to studio for now so that we can allow the car to actually make their way around the residence here. Leanne?
Sakina, thanks very, very much. Stopping the traffic to get the story to us. So as you can hear, conversations there with different people that are going to be attending the funeral, and we know that the president is expected to deliver the eulogy at this special official funeral. It's a Category 2 funeral, so flags flying at half-mast and bestowed on this iconic entrepreneur and businessman here in South Africa that stood for so much more, and that's what you're going to be hearing about today as that broadcast continues.